Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back, and if you are new, thanks so much for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I finished in June. I read 7 books in June, which most of you probably know is way less than usual for me, but that's okay. There's been a lot going on, and reading has had to take a bit of a back seat. But I'm glad that I'm still, at least getting some reading in. So what I'm going to do is I will start with 2 books that I'm not going to go into great detail on these ones. The first is Beloved by Toni Morrison. I read this for Tuesdays with Toni, which is the reading project that I am doing with my good friend AJ from AJ Dunn Reads and Writes. We are reading all of Toni Morrison's novels this year. Now, we've both read the book, but because we both have other things happening, other things going on in our lives, we held off putting out our video during the schedule for this one. So I've chatted with AJ, and it looks like for now I'm going to go ahead putting out my videos. I will put out Beloved next Tuesday, which was, I think it was actually supposed to be when we posted our videos for Jazz, but I will catch up and put my Jazz video out on August the 8th, and then I will continue with the original schedule. So for now, I will leave a link to the Tuesdays with Toni playlist, so you can check that out if you want to follow along. The other book that I read in June that I've already talked about is Autopsy of a Boring Wife by Marie-Renee Lavoie. I read this book as my Quebec pick for the Reading Across Canada challenge that I'm doing and that I'm loving. The prompt was to read a French-Canadian author, and I share my thoughts about this book in that video that I did for the reading challenge. So I will leave a link to that video below if you are interested in hearing more about the challenge and about this particular book. So that leaves 5 books that I still have to talk about. And I'm going to start with the book that I read with AJ's Killer Reads Book Club, and that was The Martian by Andy Weir. I have been waiting to read this book for quite some time, so I was very happy to have others to read it with. I had read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir first, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. And I would say the same thing here. Now, I loved the movie The Martian with Matt Damon, and in some ways, I have to say that I enjoyed the movie more. It stays very close to the book, so there's no major deviations, that upset me or anything like that. I think the movie made the things that I enjoyed about the book even better. So basically, the book is about a space flight to Mars, and when they experience a dust storm, they have to make an emergency evacuation, and they leave one person behind. Miraculously, Mark Watney survives the dust storm. His crew obviously thinks they have left him to die, and now Mark has to figure out how to live on Mars all alone when nobody is probably coming back to get him. So I really like the premise, and I really like the main character, Mark. He's funny and witty. There are some great lines in this, and that's, I think, the main thing I enjoyed about Project Hail Mary as well. So I think the storyline is clever, and I like how it all comes together in the end. There's some great references to the 80s that's fun for some nostalgia. The thing with this author is that Andy Weir is obviously very intelligent when it comes to science and space, and there is a lot of science. And I think there was even more science in Project Hail Mary than in The Martian. But for me, it was a lot. I didn't feel like it was way over my head or that the author was talking down to the reader or anything like that. But I didn't understand it all. And I'm not sure that it's all necessary. And I think it was AJ who said that there was a lot of telling going on rather than showing. And I would say that I have to agree with that. I know some people love all of the science jargon, and that's, one of the reasons that they love the book so much. But for me, it's the thing that takes away from the enjoyment. So it was still a good book. I do wonder if I would have enjoyed it as much if I hadn't seen the movie first, because the movie is showing. So all of that was handled really well. So I say give this one a go if you like the sciencey stuff, if you like books about space, or if you've read Project Hail Mary and you liked that, then I think that you would like this one too. Next up is a book that I read as a buddy read with Jack from Spread Book Joy. Jack is amazing and has a great channel, and this was our first buddy read together, hopefully not our last, and I really appreciated all of her insights into this book. We read The Death of Vivek OG by Akwaeke Emezi together. This was my first book by Emezi. Jack has read several others, so she was able to share with me some insight into how this book compares to her other writing. And this book, I thought it was lovely. I really enjoyed it. I would say this was my favorite read of the month. The book starts off, and really from the title, you already know that Vivek OG dies. So the big question in the book is how Vivek dies. This is the mystery. When Vivek's parents find his naked and bloody body on their doorstep. So we are then told in alternating perspectives Vivek's story. We meet Vivek's family and friends. We find out what is important to him, what his interests are, and what he struggles with. And the friendship he has with his cousin is very significant. And it's clear early on that Vivek is different. And this develops more as the story goes on. So like one example is that Vivek grows his hair long. And people are both curious and some are appalled by it. His parents try to understand and accept him. And I love how this is shown. It's almost subtle how his mother begins to bend and focuses on the love she has for her child. And I think Vivek is one of those characters that will remain with me for a long time. This did not go the way I thought it would. It did not, it did surprise me. So I really liked that. And I also liked the ending of this. And I would probably put this in the top of the queer books that I've read. So it was a perfect pick for Pride Month. It definitely has me wanting to read more by Akwaeke Emezi. I loved her writing. I thought the use of language was beautiful. If you are looking for a book with a bit of mystery, with queer characters and beautiful writing, then I would recommend this for sure. The next two books I read are really short stories or novellas. I read The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins-Gilman. This is a classic, well-known Gothic horror. This was first published in the late 1800s. And I think it has had a lot of influence on contemporary writers. I would also say that the story still holds up to today, so that's saying something. It is basically about a couple. The husband is a physician who diagnoses his wife with temporary nervous depression. They are staying in a mansion, and the wife basically stays in one room the entire time in order to get rest and get better. She becomes obsessed with the wallpaper and begins writing in her journal about this wallpaper. And as many of you know, I love when a place is a character, and in this case, the wallpaper becomes a character. So this is an interesting look at mental illness, the treatment of women, especially by their husbands in this case. And because the narrator is unreliable, another thing that I like, it left me kind of wondering what was real or true. And I also have questions about this husband of hers. So if you have read Mexican Gothic by Silvia, Moreno, Garcia, then it kind of has those vibes where the house, or in this case wallpaper, it changes and becomes something more. So if you like Gothic horror, if you like short stories and an unreliable narrator, then you might want to try this short story. The next book in my pile here is another good pick for Pride Month, and also for National Indigenous History Month. And that's this gem, Indigent Queerness by Joshua Whitehead. I received this book from Athabasca University Press and Zedgy Stories. And I think Joshua Whitehead is an author I've talked about many times on my channel. And I think he's someone we really need to pay attention to. He won Canada Reads a couple of years ago with his debut novel, Jonny Appleseed. And I'm pretty sure he's where I first heard the word Indigiqueerness, and how I've come to understand to any degree what Indigiqueerness means. And I think throughout all of Whitehead's work, he is offering readers insight into something that they either know nothing or very little about, or he is offering something that they have been trying to identify with for so long, and because of him, they can now put words to it. And that can't be an easy spot to be in. So this little book is only about 50 pages, and I think that this is a great way to continue what he's doing. This book is basically what the subtitle says. It's a conversation with Angie Abdu. And there are 10 questions all about Joshua Whitehead, each one of them numbered. They're about his life, his writing, and his books, and his queer identity. And what I love about this is could have been written as a quick article, but because it's in this format, it makes it so much more interesting. Each question also includes pictures, and there are quotes that are highlighted throughout. So I will say that I think reading Joshua Whitehead's other writing could be important because it is referred to in this book. He's an author that so far seems to be building upon his previous work. So I think it's important to read his work, at least his novel first, before venturing out to his other publishing. So I would highly recommend this if you have read Joshua Whitehead's work before, if you are interested in his work, and if you are interested in the queer aspect of his life and writing as well. The final book that I want to talk about is Indian in the Cabinet by Jody Wilson Raybould. I've been wanting to read her books for a while now, and it seemed fitting to pick this up during National Indigenous History Month. This is a political memoir. Jody Wilson Raybould was Canada's first Indigenous Minister of Justice and Attorney General. If you follow Canadian politics at all, then her name will probably be familiar to you. because she caused, I'm going to say, quite a stir when she chose to resign and to tell the truth. And I would say that you have to know a bit about Canadian politics to really understand and enjoy the book. I felt like it was written as though you already knew Jody's story, and now she was just filling in the gaps and kind of telling her side of things. It's written with a lot of punches. What I mean by that is I felt like I was reading a boxing match where one person was throwing all the punches. There's not a lot of backstory, except a little bit to share about other leaders in Jody's family. So there wasn't many breaks from the political life at all, which isn't necessarily bad, but I found it a bit exhausting. So it definitely made me look at our government and how it works differently. It's also very clear that Jody Wilson Raybould is a strong woman who wasn't willing to give in to her morals and integrity. So if you are interested in Canadian politics and political memoirs, then this is definitely one to pick up. So that wraps up the books that I read in June. Please let me know your thoughts. Are there any of these that you've already read, any that interest you? Please let me know what books you read in June that you enjoyed the most and that you would recommend. Love to hear all about that. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.